Real estate is one of the simplest ways to build long-term wealth, and one of the easiest ways to get wrecked if you don't know what you're doing. So this show, it exists for one main reason: clarity. Me and Keith, we're talking deals, markets, financing, flips, all of it, but always through the lens of what's working, what isn't working, and why. I'm your host, Dayton Lindsey, and I promise you that this podcast is going to help you save time, money, and you from painful lessons. So, let's get into this. Welcome, everyone, to the First Deal podcast. I'm your host, Dayton Lindsey, here with Keith Gillispie.
We're ready to answer some questions.
And by we, he means himself.
That's right. But if you have any questions, put them in the description, and I'll answer them next week.
That's right. All right. So, what is the single most powerful question you can ask a motivated seller? And I'm talking about the one that shifts the entire conversation and makes them want to sell to you specifically.
Oh, you threw a wrench in with the predicate of your last sentence. Wow, I knew my answer until you said that. That makes them want to sell to you.
Yep.
Ooh, this is the hardest question you've ever asked me.
Yes. I need more questions like it. I'll note
the
that.
One question that single-handedly shifts the frame of the call. Man, I really knew what I was going to say up until, and makes the seller want to sell to you. You know, I don't know that I have an answer to this question.
Yes, I won. That's it. We've ended the podcast.
We lovingly call this Stump the Chump. He can ask me any question that he wants, and when he stumps me, he gets $10,000. No, just kidding. What a good question. I don't think there is one. You know, like, I feel like I've done enough sales and negotiation, studying and reading books and buying courses. Like, I have easily spent over $100,000 on sales and negotiation courses. And NLP, love neuro-linguistic programming. I don't think there is single-handedly one question that shifts the dynamic of the call and tips things in your favor that makes the seller want to sell to you. Yeah, man, I'm gonna die on this hill. There is not a question that you could ever ask that would make the seller want to sell to you. And here's why. Golly, this is such a good question, Dayton. My God. Here's why. When I am talking with a seller, it is not my job to create pain or pleasure in their life. This is the reason why we target motivated sellers and not retail sellers. Retail sellers, you might be able to say something that really tips it in your favor. An example is, this is kind of an old lost thing, but something that we used to do way back in the day. When you're working with a realtor and you submit an offer, you would include a letter. It's like a buyer's letter. And it's kind of like a little about you. And, for example, hey, I'm an active duty Marine. Me and my wife just got married 2 years ago. We just had our baby daughter, and I'm 21 and my wife is 20. And we're looking to lay roots down here, and we would love to buy your house. I don't know. That's kind of like the short version, right? So you would make this letter, and potentially some buyer, you would pull on the heartstrings of the seller. You'd pull on the heartstrings of the seller and get them to accept your offer, even if it's slightly less or a little bit different terms than a different person who is buying their house. Because they're like, man, I really want to support these people. This is a young couple who's buying a house. They just had their first baby. He's an active duty Marine. Like, I could get people to really like me. They're on the retail market. They're a retail seller. When you have a motivated seller, you have built-in motivation. Like they're in divorce, they're going through a divorce, or they're in pre-foreclosure, or they just went bankrupt, or they have a code violation, or they have delinquent taxes, or they have some tenants that are destroying their house or not paying their rent. They have stage 4 cancer and they need to pay their medical bills. They need to go to an old folks home for proper care and treatment. Mom passed away 3 years ago, and now they've inherited this house. Like there's a plethora of life circumstances that really just kind of kick you in the nuts, and these folks need some help navigating these waters because they've never navigated the waters. And so I don't think that there's one thing that you can say, whether it's a statement or a question, that's going to make these sellers like tip into your hand and want to sell to you. Here's what I will say though. I'm going to answer your question, but we're going to go a little bit of a different angle. I think that when you have a process, professionals have a process, and amateurs are just winging it. I think everybody universally listening to this is going to agree with this statement. Professionals have a process. Like, I know what I'm doing. I've done this before. I've done it successfully, and I've done it successfully many times. Therefore, I'm going to keep doing what works. That's why there's a process. Whereas amateurs, I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't had success, right? I don't know what works, and I definitely don't know how to replicate it. Therefore, I'm trying something new. You feel me? Maybe you're the amateur. Maybe you're like, God dang, like I really relate to what you just said, Keith. Well, get yourself a process. Get my course, the triage call course, and that's the process that we walk the seller through. It's totally free, and Dayton is going to drop it into the description below or the show notes. We'll put a link to the triage call. So there's a process, and when people are being walked through a process, you are guiding them. You're holding their hand, and you're taking them through this journey. They feel safe. They feel like they can trust you. They feel like you're asking good questions. They feel like you see them and you are hearing them out, and you're customizing this process just for them because you are. And they're giving you all this information. That alone is what's going to set you apart and build rapport and trust and make the seller want to do business with you. So have a process. So that's the latter half. That was the predicate, the latter portion of your last sentence. That's the answer. Now I'll tell you what is the single-handedly the biggest question that's going to shift the dynamic of the call. It's not going to make the seller want to sell to you, but it is the best question to ask. And it is going to shift the dynamic of the call. I'm going to walk you through it. So let's say that you've called somebody about this house. It's your first call. It's me and you talking. And
I'm the seller.
And you're the seller. I'm the investor. And I'm talking to you, and you've told me all about this house and how long you've owned it and the things that you've done to it. You've kind of explained the condition of the house and the things that were wrong, things that need to be fixed. We've gone over the timeline that you want to sell. We've gone over the reason why you want to sell. You've given me the mortgage information, and what else? And we've finally gotten, we're kind of done with the discovery portion. And at this point, it's time to talk about price, right? Price and terms. And the dynamic of the call should change. The dynamic of the call should change because you're agreeable in the first part of the call because you want to get all the information that you can. But then now we're to business. Now we're talking cash, right? So you need to ask this question. So, Dayton, let me ask you, man, how much are you hoping to walk away with? Okay. This is, by the way, this is after I take care of your mortgage. So this isn't the sales price. I care about how much cash you get. After everything is said and done, this after I take care of the mortgage, this after I pay for all of your seller expenses, and I buy it just the way it sits. Like, this is going to be your check as you're walking away from the closing table. What were you hoping to walk away with?
For simple numbers, I would say I'm looking to walk away with 100,000.
$100,000.
Yes.
Well, Dayton, I am paying for all of your closing costs and everything. So, is that the least that you would take?
The least that I'd be willing to take for this would, I would say, at the lowest I would take is 60 grand.
$60,000. So, Dayton, I'm buying it in as-is condition, right? There's no warranties that you're giving me on the house. There's no repairs that you have to do. You don't have to update anything. I'm not going to ask you to fix anything at all. So is $60,000 the lowest you would go?
60, and you're taking on the, like, no more rehabs. You're taking on the seller costs.
Correct.
Okay. I drop it down to 40,000.
Yeah, I feel like we're potentially getting close, Dayton. You can't do just a little bit better than that?
How come you would want a little bit better than that?
Because I don't want to
I
do all this
understand.
work for free.
Okay. Okay, I can understand that.
I'm trying to make a gain on the property, not lose money. That's why. Just being totally honest.
Okay. I'm looking to get rid of this quick because I'm moving out of state. So I'll drop it down to 20,000.
Yeah, I have it in my notes here, Dayton, that you want to move and be closed, like out of the house, June 1st.
Yes.
So if I could get you $20,000 cash in hand as you're walking away from the closing table by June 1st, you don't have to fix anything, and I cover the seller's cost. You're saying that's what it would take for you to sell me the house today?
Yes.
Would you feel good about that?
I would feel good about that. Yes.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do.
The numbers would work. If I walk away clean hands, cash in hand, I would absolutely do that for you, Keith.
So then that's when I would walk them through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you the agreement to your email. You're going to be pulling it up on your mobile device or your laptop. I'm going to walk you through paragraph by paragraph, everything that if you're listening to this podcast as a series, we covered this in the last podcast episode. Here's the reason why I chose to make this the question. Though, I mean, I have, what's the most? I have this logged somewhere. 500 to 240 is $260,000. The most that I've ever had somebody lower their amount was $260,000.
Oh, wow. Holy smokes.
And all I did, and it took about 10 minutes, mind you, those 3 questions that we did as we were role playing, what was it? Maybe 3. Literally, it was probably right around 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It took about 10 minutes to get through those 3 questions because she had to internalize each notch, if you will. And she had to come to accept it. And she had to think about the pros and the cons. And she did have to ask a couple of clarifying questions like you did. So you would be taking care of all the closing costs, so on and so forth. So these are all important things to a seller. And they need to kind of see it for themselves in their mind's eye. They need to hear it for themselves. If they're speaking it, it's even better because then they're creating it in their head, but then they're creating it in real life and they're hearing those things. And so there's this creation, 2 times. Those questions will make you more money than anything else. Those questions will make you more money than anything else. And so if there's some, it's not one question. I know that you did ask me one question, but if there's a framework or a series of questions that really tipped things into your favor, that drastically changed the dynamic of the call, that's what it would be. It'd be the negotiation questions.
Quick aside, if you're getting value out of this, make sure to hit the like, subscribe, and drop a comment down below with what you want Keith and me to cover next. It helps the channel out a lot, and it tells us what you want to learn about. Anyways, back to the video. How do you handle a seller who already has a cash offer on the table? And what do you actually say in the moment to stay in the deal?
Easy. Oh my God, this is so easy. So both of these things, by the way, I have so much training on all of this. And again, it is literally free. I'm here to just provide a massive amount of value to our listeners. The triage call course answers both of these in depth. So again, these are only like 25-minute podcasts and just one video over there. I probably have 30 videos handling questions like this. So if somebody already has a cash offer, first question is, well, let me tell you the rationale, the reasoning behind the question, and then I'll tell you how to execute the question. First, you must plant the seed of doubt. Second, you must water the seed of doubt. Third, you must see if the seed of doubt has grown. It's a 3-step process. Super, super simple. So first, plant the seed of doubt. So, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller, the gentleman who gave you that offer, did he like come, walk the house, estimate the repairs, and give you a written offer, or did he just give this to you verbally? Go ahead, role play with me.
This was given verbally.
It was given verbally? Cool.
Yes.
So he really didn't put a lot of time or effort or thinking or math into the offer. He didn't like estimate the repairs or take the time to actually send you a formalized agreement. He didn't even send you an email.
No, he didn't send me any of those. What happened was we talked about it, and when we were talking about it, it was based off of similar circumstances with other properties that he has put under contract.
Oh, interesting. Just out of curiosity, that's a really good offer. That's a very good offer. I don't mean to be rude or make it sound like you're stupid, when I asked this question, but why did you not accept that offer? There had to be something other than the price, right, that held you back. What was it?
Mm.
Let's pause. I've said this a lot of times, so you may not know, what to say, but I have heard everything from. I had this one lady. What's the misogynistic? I think is the right. Is that the right way to say it?
A misogynistic?
Misogynistic. Yeah, she was like,
Like
that guy was a
misogynist.
misogynistic prick, or whatever. Like she
Okay.
just hated him. He was whatever. Other people are like, yeah, he just kind of made me feel a little bit icky. It was like an unspoken thing. Other people were like,
Mhm.
that dude was worse than a car salesman. Other people, they're like, no, he's sleazy as hell. Like I didn't. There was not a single good vibe about him. Other people said, I just didn't really get the feeling like I could trust him to close. Like he didn't really seem like he knew what he was doing. He seemed like he was new at this. Another person, well, he wasn't really confident in his offer. He said that he had to go ask his business partner's approval, like it was contingent upon something. Another person, well, he didn't really walk me through like what it would look like, and so I have all these questions about like, can I leave all my stuff because I'm trying to get out of here quick, quick, fast, and in a hurry. Um, Another person, well, he didn't really say that he would buy it as it sits, and I don't have the money or the time and can't put in the effort to fix up my house. So he didn't walk them through the process, right? I don't know how many things I just thought of. I could sit here for another probably 5 minutes and rattle off different things that I have heard people say. But when I ask that question, why didn't you? And I'm saying, it's kind of like, with all due respect, Dayton, why don't you get your ass in line? People will say like, with all due respect, and then they say something super disrespectful.
Yeah.
I'm kind of doing that. I don't want to make it sound like you're being stupid, but why didn't you accept that offer? That was a really good offer. It's kind of like disbelief. Like I'm befuzzled right now. This doesn't make sense. There's something missing here. Like there had to be something besides that price. Why didn't you really accept that offer? What was the real reason? Here's the thing. This is like a vampire. Is it silver bullets? Yeah, this is the silver bullet. They're going to give you the silver bullet that you need to close them. They're going to tell you the one thing that you need to do. And you dive into that really deep. You will spend the next 10 to 20 minutes asking them everything there is to know about that thing. And then you go back to this guy. Now, besides whatever it was, any of those 5 or 6 or 8 things that I just mentioned, besides this thing, was there any other reason why you didn't accept that man's offer? Maybe there's a second objection that you need to overcome. Maybe there's a deal killer that's about to sprout up. Whatever it is, you go into these things, you uncover the objections, you overcome the objections, and then you present the perfect presentation.
Okay.
But you have to plant the seed of doubt, you have to water it, and you have to test it, right? It's called the trial close. You have to test it to see, did this thing take root? Has this thing sprouted up? And yeah, I love going in there and like, so this guy seemed like he knew what he was doing, or did he seem like one of these newbie wholesalers that's kind of just winging it? Great question. I'm not downing that person. I'm not throwing shade. I'm not saying anything mean or rude or disrespectful or unprofessional. I'm simply asking a question. That's how I handle it.
Nice. You said something in there about the deal killers of any deal, whether that's, say, a family member or a spouse. And that leads into my final question that I had for you today. And that was, family members, attorneys, neighbors, adult children, deals die because of third parties all the time. All the time.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to that 100-Year War episode, that deal could have gone hella sideways with
Yeah.
those children. But so, what's your strategy for managing the people around the seller and not just the seller themselves?
I have 3 waves of defense here because you're absolutely right. It's always other people that kill the deal. It's never your seller. It's always other people. It's always their sister. It's always their mom. It's always their whatever. Sometimes it's a realtor friend. Sometimes it's also sometimes it's the lack of somebody. So my first wave of defense is actually targeting the lack of somebody. I need my husband to be here. I need my wife to be on board. I need my mom's help with this, whatever it is. So number one is making sure that all decision makers are present. I do not pitch, no matter what. Absolutely, this is a 100%. There is no exclusion to this. I will not pitch unless all decision makers are present, because 100% of the time, if you know, you're a fool. If you know that there is a decision maker that is not present on the call, there's only one way that call is going to go. I have to get this decision maker on board. I need to get them to weigh in. I need their blessing. They have more information than I do. Right? So
Yeah.
these are, that's how that goes. Always make sure all decision makers are present. The next wave of defense, so that's the first one. I have 3. The next wave of defense is before I actually get them to sign the purchase and sales agreement, I will ask them, is there, just to be certain, is there anybody that you would want to consult or make sure that like this is going to be a right fit for you? If no, then once I send them that contract and I'm walking them through it step by step, they are going to sign when we are on the phone. And I have zero pressure, by the way. It will not ever feel like I'm pushing them to do anything. I am just saying that I have uncovered all of the things, right? I asked prior to the call, even before the call started, is there anybody else that we should have on the call? No, I'm not married. Are you going to have your mom or anybody look this over? No. Okay. And then again, on that call, making sure that all decision makers are present and then testing it one last time before you actually send the purchase and sales agreement. And I really do send the purchase and sales agreement while I'm on the phone with them. Because statistics, I tested this, 55% of people that I sent the contract to and they didn't sign because we weren't on the phone, I never got them back on the phone. And so the numbers don't lie. If you just send it to them while you're on the phone, you will double your contract rate. And you don't have to spend twice as much on ads. You don't have to become twice as good of a closer. You just adjust your timing. And you do it right then and there. You don't get off the phone and then send them the contract. You send them the contract while you're on the phone. But before I do, I want to make sure that there's nobody else that you want to swing this idea past and make sure that, anybody else you want to run this by. Then, so those are the 2 ways that I set myself up for success. Now, chronologically, we're going to put the property under contract. And what do I do after I put the property under contract? File the memorandum. At this point in time, even if, God forbid, they go and I set the best expectations ever. I have so many of these recorded calls in our perfect presentation course. I put my own course, my own call recordings in there so that you can go and listen to them. It's really good. I will make sure that I have set the proper expectations. When you sign, literally it's the second to last paragraph of my purchase and sales agreement. There's no changing your mind. There's no going back. Like you are agreeing to sell this house to me, and I am agreeing to buy this house from you. You cannot list it and sell it to another person. You can't change your mind and not sell it to me. You understand and agree to these terms and conditions? Yes. Great. It's literally the second to last paragraph of our purchase and sales agreement. After we sign that purchase and sales agreement, I file the memorandum. And what that does is it effectively places a cloud on the title of their house and makes sure that, God forbid, if they go talk to their sister, they go talk to their Aunt Sally, who's a realtor, and they go, this is terrible. You could get so much more money. Why didn't you let me list your house? So on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we made an agreement. We both signed. This is a legally binding contract, and I am liquidating assets. I am raising money. I am spending money. Home inspections, appraisers, opening titles, so on and so forth. Maybe even sending out my contractor. Maybe even flying in to go see the property if it's out of state. There's a lot of costs that I'm going to incur. There's a lot of opportunity cost that I'm going to incur, and as well as I have a lead manager, I have a deal analyst, I have an acquisition manager, I have a transaction coordinator, I have a project manager, I have a disposition manager. I've got all these people, I've got all these mouths that I have to feed, and every single person has a little bit of a bite out of this deal, right? Everybody has to get paid. I'm running a team. So you can't just this is kind of a tuna boat, like we're not an agile speedboat here. We can't just pivot. We've got a process. We've got a train, and you're trying to stop a moving train at this point. That's the reason why I file that memorandum, to make sure that I have some teeth, that I have something that actually prevents them, that stops them from changing their mind. Now, at the end of the day, I'm not going to force anybody to do anything, and I'll release my memorandum. However, if you don't have teeth, if you don't have anything, if you don't have a leg to stand on, you have no point of negotiation or renegotiation.
Keith, you've been awesome. These are some awesome answers to my questions.
Thank you, man.
Loving it.
Good questions.
But that is all for today, folks. Remember to like, subscribe, and leave your comments in the section below, and we will answer them in the podcast. And by we, I mean him.
See you guys on the next one.
Real estate isn't magic. It's a skill. And the people who win long term are the ones that keep stacking the reps. That means learning, analyzing, staying patient, and making good decisions. If you want to keep building that skill with us, make sure to subscribe and send this to someone who needs to hear it, because I know you know someone that needs to. Anyways, that's all for today. Take care.